For this month, Ryan has requested me to review a Jim Henson cult favorite from the 80s, Labyrinth. Like I said when I reviewed The Dark Crystal, you either prefer that movie or Labyrinth when it comes to Henson's fantasy films from that decade. I definitely have a preference for this movie, which is incredibly imaginative, and it's wonderful to see it gain a following after it flopped on its original release. There are a lot of things that work about Labyrinth, although the main element that impresses me is how it captures a Lewis Carroll sense of lunacy. This movie shares a lot in common with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, as it details a girl traveling to this magical land, encountering oddball creatures, and trying to make sense of it all. Many filmmakers have attempted to bring Carroll's story to the screen, and it's a hard book to adapt because there's an episodic structure to it. However, Henson found a way, and I think that's mainly because of the ticking time clock constantly over Sarah's head. And while Alice wandered from place to place, Sarah is constantly racing as she tries to save her baby brother. Terry Jones is credited on the screenplay, although he has said a lot of his material was rewritten by Henson, Elaine May, and a few other writers. But I think a bit of his trademark humor still comes through in spots. Every weird creature and being in the labyrinth leaves a memorable impression, and each work to test Sarah as she attempts to make her way towards the Goblin King's castle. Unsurprisingly for a Henson production, the puppetry work is fantastic. However, I also love the visual look of the film. Brian Froud, who also designed The Dark Crystal, was largely responsible for Labyrinth's designs, and the whole movie looks like a fairytale storybook come to life. This was an expensive production for the time, and all the money is on the screen, as it never feels like they're reusing sets or cutting corners. There are scenes with whole armies of puppets battling each other, and I'm impressed at how Henson was able to keep everything under control. A lot of the special effects hold up remarkably well too, including a sequence made to look like the famous M.C. Escher stairs painting. Of course, one cannot talk about Labyrinth without mentioning David Bowie. Bowie really helped shape the Goblin King, turning him into a memorable screen presence. Every time he comes on screen, he commands our attention, and he's having a lot of fun hanging out with these puppets and wearing this wild outfit. If Bowie hadn't signed on to Labyrinth, the movie probably would have turned out very differently. In many ways, Labyrinth is almost like an extended music video, and that's a large part of the film's appeal. The songs Bowie composed for the film are excellent, and yes, Magic Dance is the best and most memorable song, but As the World Falls Down and Underground are strong pieces too. However, Jennifer Connelly also deserves credit for creating a lead we can root for. Sarah has to be the straight woman, reacting to this strange world, and she makes it believable. I've seen Sarah and Connelly's performance criticized in the opening scenes for sounding whiny and entitled, but I think that's the point. All this trouble starts because she's so engrossed in her fantasy stories, and she just finds her family and younger brother to be nuisances. It's through meeting the likes of Hoggle and Ludo and confronting the Goblin King face to face that she realizes the importance of family, and we see her grow during the course of the story. Overall, I think Labyrinth is a winning fantasy film that succeeds in taking its literary influences and still creating a unique world. With a growing cult following, it's probably not too surprising Sony Pictures and the Jim Henson Company are producing a sequel/spin-off that'll be set in the Labyrinth world, and with Fede Alvarez directing. While it remains to be seen if Jennifer Connelly will return to play a grown-up Sarah, the filmmakers have said that Jareth the Goblin King won't be recast, and I don't blame them. The role was so transformed by David Bowie during the production, it's hard to imagine anyone else playing it. I think there's a lot you can do in that universe, and I'm curious to see what they do with the material.